I'm not going to say the word. And the police intervened immediately to separate.
But they were right to do that. They were right to do that.
And they were right to do that. But when you're saying that there is nothing untoward there, people are looking at the videos of people getting drunk and throwing bottles at the police.
I was at the Armistice Day protest, and pro-Palestine protesters walked in masks, and they were chased down the street. Rightly so. Why go to those protests specifically to cause
I agree with
trouble?
you. They shouldn't go. I agree with you. I'm not on the side.
Why go to those protests?
There should be an equal.
I'm just saying.
Martin, can I say, Kwasi, is the problem here that you have differently resourced police forces?
Slightly.
So in other parts of the country, Manchester, maybe Hartlepool, Southend, you have police less ready to deal with these problems, and so that's why you might. And to try and argue the police's case, you may have different levels of policing.
I think that's a fair point, but I think the suspicion here is that both there were pro-Hamas protests in London, and there were also the scenes that we saw the cenotaph yesterday, and there is a view that they're slightly differently policed, and I can see why people say that, and I think it's wrong.
But they were entirely different orders of magnitude, right? Because the pro-Palestine protests, where we are talking about mass numbers of people and a much more diverse crowd.
But they were policed differently, and the thing about policing with riot sticks, with riot shields, with mass formations, it creates a tension that engenders arrests.
But
the
Martin,
policing of those, I've been on these protests. You don't see anything like that on a pro-Palestine march. It's soft touch, it's soft soaping, and they don't nick people like they do on yesterday's march.
Wasn't that a response to the fact that the protest we saw in Southport turned violent straight away? People arrived there with cans of cider and beer. They got drunk. They attacked the police.
It's not illegal to have a can of beer on a protest.
Okay, Martin,
but you see, it's a very different nature of an event.
Kwasi, Kwasi Kwarteng, do you think the PM might regret not trying to tackle the cause of this and just going after the symptoms?
So look, it was a bizarre, and I know Keir Starmer, I have respect for him, but he's a North London lawyer. Let's cut to the chase. And so,
what does that mean?
Well, that means that he is part of a metropolitan elite that hasn't been in touch over the last few years with people in outside London. And I think I'm part of it. I mean, I don't disavow that. I'm just saying that if I, as a constituency MP and as someone who backed Brexit, I was very aware of this chasm between North London, London.
So now you believe in identity politics?
And people who were backing Brexit, who lived a life outside of London and wanted to get on with their lives. And the fact that this tragedy. It's completely unprecedented. I mean, the only parallel I can think of was Dunblane. I'm old enough to remember.
That's a shooting when many more children died.
That's right, and many more people were killed.
Children died.
Children. This is the only time I can remember, there may be other cases, children dying in quite a large number. And I think it's a very serious issue, particularly when it was regarding nighttime.
Is Kwasi right? I mean, when you use the words far right and just chuck it around at people who are just concerned about things, yes, there are far right involved, no question. But is that a fair thing to describe all people concerned about double standard policing?
What do you call? I'm not saying that anyone who is... Firstly, there is a difference between someone being concerned about the knife violence and all of that and someone who is going and throwing beer cans at the police. There is a difference. Sorry, say the question again. Yes, far right. Sorry, yes.
They're not all far right. They're not all labelled on the same.
How do you describe, if they're not far right, how do you describe someone who is trying to portray every Muslim basically being Muslim and being an immigrant?
Everybody does that on these protests.
How do you describe the misinformation? The misinformation, the people who were saying that this murderer, who it turns out was a British-born Christian, was a Muslim a Muslim immigrant who arrived on a boat. What kind of agenda is people who are peddling that misinformation trying to push for?
The key difference is quite simple, and that is the minority of meatheads on a far-right march determines everybody who was there.
Isn't that what you did, Martin, with the Palestine protests?
Path today dictates that. You're as bad as the worst. You never get that.
Isn't that what you wanted?
Never.
So you're right. You're absolutely right.
Isn't that what you wanted with the Palestine protests? Millions of people, you wanted to say that they are all pro-Hamas.
You're
Isn't that what
100% right.
No, my precise point is... the right-wing trope means that everybody in that crowd, everybody in that town is as bad as the worst people. That's never applied to a Hamas march, a pro-Palestine march, or Hare Hills the other week,
Martin,
when community leaders were demanding people turned out and protested outside police stations. Disgusting things. They weren't held to account. They weren't arrested. They weren't clamped down. Let's listen to the community.
So if you're absolutely right. If you have one Islamist who denounces the West and wants to blow up Buckingham Palace or whatever it is in one of these marches, Keir Starmer and others will be the first to say not everyone is like that. Not all the people on the protest are like these.
And he should have said that today, should he? In Downing Street?
But it's exactly analogous. It's exactly the same thing. You can't just say that everybody who's concerned about children,
but Keir Starmer did not say that everyone is going to be
is part of some far-right conspiracy.
That's not what Keir Starmer said. I'm really sorry, but this is not what Keir Starmer said. It is exactly the same thing as Rishi Sunak saying we're going to tackle anti-Semitism. He wasn't saying we're going to put everyone who goes on a pro-Palestine protest in prison. We're going to throw them into prison.
Isn't there a missed opportunity here? He could have addressed the people concerned about the deaths. He could have.
You could say the same about Rishi Sunak.
He could have spoken.
We're not talking about Rishi Sunak. He's not the Prime Minister
He could have
anymore.
spoken to people who are concerned, and he didn't. He tarred them all with the same brush, and that is a problem.
No, did Rishi Sunak?
We're not talking about Rishi Sunak.
The reason why I'm bringing him up, because I'm not bringing it up to avoid the issue. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because people who will be watching this will be seeing a completely different way of dealing with this protest from the way that we dealt with the pro-Palestine protest. So the problem with freedom of expression, Martin, is that it has to appeal to everyone. And what the right-wingers are realizing right now is that they have spent the last few months demonizing Muslim people, Muslim people concerned about the deaths of Muslim kids.
You're doing the same thing. You're saying all the right-wingers do the worst
thing. You're not talking about the issue. You're not addressing the issue. The issue is 3 young girls were killed and robbed of their lives by a knife crime. It's not about the right or the left, or forgive me, or the Muslims or anything like that. We've got to focus on it. And in the Prime Minister's statement, he did say something about the victims, to be fair, but he spent the lion's share of his statement talking about the demonstrators and not actually getting to the issue. And why these girls were killed.
No, this week he has also been talking about Labour's knife crime and how one of the 5 missions of the Labour Party is to have serious knife crime and how exactly he's going to do that. He has been talking about all of the policies that he's going to be implementing. It's just that we're focusing on this specific
just knife
statement.
crime. This isn't just knife crime. I mean, I've got 30, 40 years of memory on this. This isn't just a normal knife crime that you see, appalling the tragedies though they are. This is a very unusual case where 3 innocent, very young girls were killed in a senseless way. It's not something that you can say is equivalent.
Should we not wait for the police to tell us what happened?
I think we should have calm, but we should also look at the causes of what happened.
Okay,
this isn't an ordinary thing that's just occurred.
Stella, Kwasi and Martin, particularly Martin, thank you for joining us today on Farage.